Hi everyone, I'm Michael.
I'm Adrian. I'm just saying, you can't do the slate. I want to do the slate.
Take three.
Open the
Take
bridge.
So everyone at home watching, I'm Michael.
I'm Sean.
He's just sort of like the winner.
Why are they moving their hands so much?
Alrighty, who are we?
Hi, so I'm Michael.
I'm Adrian.
I'm Sean.
Hello everyone. We're gonna get down to business. We're gonna be reviewing Captain America: Civil War.
Yes.
Bum, 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 bum. And here, if we had a budget, we'd slip in like some trailer clips.
You're rubbing the breast of life.
Okay. So first things first. Let's go around the room. Like, Adrian, what did you think?
Man, dude, going into it, it was funny because like when we walked into the theater, we mentioned to ourselves like, hey, we're surprisingly going in this movie pretty dark. We don't know what's gonna happen. We just know, yes, Spider-Man's in it. Black Panther's in it. But I will say, walking out of the theater, all my expectations were met and they were pretty high. So I say it was a great movie.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish they did a few different things if I want to get nitpicky, but I liked it a lot.
Yeah, like I've seen it twice now because I have no life, and
24 hours.
Twice in less than 24 hours actually. Had a nice little Friday off. Went and saw it again. I mean, for me personally, I went in with kind of like with high expectations of like, but I still wasn't at a fever pitch for it.
Yeah.
Strangely enough, even though Captain America has always been one of my favorite Marvel heroes, the Captain America movies have been my favorite of the Marvel movies, like besides the first Avenger and the first Iron Man.
Yeah.
I went in, and I was blown away. I mean, like, there is a point in this movie that we'll get to where I literally felt like, just like with watching Force Awakens, I felt like I was a 10-year-old kid again.
Yeah.
And just things that I had imagined of just playing around with little action figures and toys actually came to life, and it was right on screen, and it all worked. And this will be the last time that I mention this movie.
Oh, God.
On this review show, just once, because I know the three of us actually do like Batman vs. Superman. Though it, of course, has its flaws.
Yeah.
Quite a few, but like I still like the movie. Yeah. Captain America: Civil War is pretty darn close to being kind of the same exact movie of Batman Superman. Like it's kind of like it's kind of eerily close to how like the basic setup of how they're kind of pushed together and everything. Yeah. But with Civil War, like it all works.
Yeah.
It's just done better. It's chronological order.
The one thing that, and like obviously like the DC defenders, that there's legitimate people that are like, fuck Marvel, screw them, they don't know what they're doing, they don't take chances. The one thing that Marvel, like going into this movie, had an advantage of over Batman v Superman was like, all right, we have characters, at least the main characters, that are already established. But the thing that shows experience, not only just filmmakers but storytellers as a whole, is that they're like, we're not here to just put these characters into situations. No, we're creating a scenario and a circumstance that they do in this movie. In the beginning of the movie, there's something that happens where there's collateral damage and because of that, the government or the governments of the world kind of step in, and there you go. Now you hit the ground running. You're like, all right, that's the motivation we need to create the initial divisiveness between Captain America and Iron Man. Obviously, Batman and Superman last, again, like, let's try not to do, but at the same time, it's like...
Well, what did you guys like the most about it? Like, for me,
yeah, go.
the part
I love how you asked us and you're like, but for me...
Because I'm thinking about it right now.
Hey guys, what do you guys eat today?
Oh, no,
you know what? I had a sandwich.
Well, it made me think about how they hit that ground running thing.
What kind of sandwich?
Yeah, what was it?
Okay.
Gluten-free sandwich.
Straight up like the hit the ground running thing is what they did with Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah,
like,
yeah.
They did his like mini intro all over again in like 5 minutes, and like that's Spider-Man go. And
but it wasn't really an intro. It was like we literally it's like it was us just like say, hey, we know who you are.
Yeah.
And and obviously like the scene, we won't get too into because it's a really good scene, is just really very smart. There were subtle digs taken at the Sony people. We could take it as that. Well, I know
I took it as a subtle dig at the Sony people.
It's just like, hey man, we know what you've been doing. You look like you need a total revamping. Roll credits.
To make it easy, like going into this movie, like you see the benefit of setting things up, and even if like you didn't like Avengers: Age of Ultron, which I like but I have problems with, it's still a fun movie. Even if it didn't totally work for some people, like it sets up so much of this film. Winter Soldier sets up so much of this film. Like even Iron Man 3, because one of my problems with Age of Ultron was that like it seemed to ignore like all the progress Tony Stark had made in Iron Man 3. This like it goes right into that. And you see the benefit of patience and just slowly letting something build, and it's like the exact opposite of Warner Brothers just going, ah!
Yeah.
Here it all is.
The one thing that I'll say this, like, I heard some people say, like, oh wow, this is like some people. I read some reviews that were saying, oh, it feels like this movie's just trying to set up something else. I think the opposite. Yeah. This movie, I would say, of the standalone movies, feels like the most of the the most standing alone of the movies.
I think you
ever.
could jump into it with a general interest, knowledge of what's happening in the world and get it.
Yeah, like the thing is, like the only thing, like it doesn't set up like an Infinity Stone or anything like that. That's not spoiling anything. It's a Captain America movie. Captain America's not finding Infinity Stones.
It's a Captain America
movie.
Yeah.
And the one thing that it does is like, look, here's a present conflict between these two people, and yeah, the ramifications are you're to divide probably the greatest team ever assembled when it comes to superheroes. That being said, we're not. They were smart to say, all right, we'll introduce characters, but we're not going to introduce their storylines yet because this is the Captain America story, and they're passengers in his movie.
Yeah, of like Avengers: Age of Ultron was kind of a shuffling of the deck to get something ready. This isn't a shuffling of the deck. Like this is like a clearing of the deck. This movie ends and you're like, I don't know what the hell is going to happen next. Yeah. I mean, of course we know what like an idea because we have titles and movies coming up. But it really, from my point of view, like the past few movies have been setting this up as kind of the corner piece. Like in the sense that the first movies of all the characters set up the Avengers. I feel that even Age of Ultron set this movie up, and this was the corner piece, and now they're going into Phase 3.
This movie makes, like, and I hate to take another shot at it, because I'm one of the people that really hated Age of Ultron. It was really disappointing for me. No,
it didn't bother me.
Like, for me...
Yeah, you're probably the biggest hater.
I didn't know that you had hatred for it.
The reason I didn't like Age of Ultron, because it felt like a repackaging, and it felt like they just slapped something on there and said, hey, your favorite heroes are back, plus Hawkeye and his farm. And I'm like, no. But the one thing that this movie
I'm a ride or die for Hawkeye's farm right now. You know what? If anyone...
I was in the theater and I booed. And I was like, boo!
If anyone wants to reach me, they can email me to Michael.Kingery at Hawkeye's Farm.
Fuck Hawkeye.
.org.
His farm.
Yeah, bomb that before. No. The one thing that I was going to say was that Age of Ultron, comparing both of these, because the conflict that was in Age of Ultron is pretty much the same as it is in here. The only thing is that this one chooses to address it, as the other one was just like, oh god, yeah, we made Ultron. We'll get over it. Yeah, we lost Quicksilver.
I was like that when I lost Quicksilver.
But back to...
Hawkeye?
Michael.Kingery at HawkeyesFarm.org.
Here, Arrow guy.
What was your favorite part?
My favorite part, the thing is that there was my truly favorite part is too spoilery for me to say.
Okay,
but I will say,
after we're done with the general thing, then we'll do a.
Yeah, I'll say like my favorite thing. Coincidentally,
I don't know what I was doing. Was that Doug?
No.
Wait, who does the?
No, that wasn't that.
Or is that Ferris Bueller?
That's Ferris Bueller.
It's also a little Doug.
It is. Yeah, I think Doug did that too.
Yeah.
But.
Way to go, Doug. Okay, it's called copyright infringement.
He wore underwear on his head.
You know, outside his pants. Yeah.
That was when he
Belt on
was.
his head.
That's when he was Quail Man.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Quail Man.
Coming to theaters in 2019. No.
With the beat soundtrack.
I was just saying, my
That's some
favorite.
hot IP right there. You gotta get that Quail Man
My
IP.
favorite part, and it was probably the most underrated performance of the movie, was Winter Soldier himself.
Oh,
He was the one thing that represents everything that the Avengers were trying to deal with. It's like, yeah, you have this superhuman being. Like, yeah, the normal people, like normal governments, can't necessarily have a hand in it. But at the same time, it's like, who are you to say that you can do that? You have to have somebody that do that. And his presence was kind of, he was just like, he was always on the run. He was always saying like, look, I don't. Like, he wasn't like, God, I'm innocent or anything like that. He was just like, he's known he'd done something wrong.
Yeah.
And he's like, he knows he has to answer for him eventually.
He's ashamed of what he's done.
Yeah.
And he's trying to.
He's trying to stay alive.
He's trying to stay alive. He's trying to stay away from everyone.
Yeah, and like it's really interesting to kind of see that throughout because you have two teams coming at you. One that kind of wants to help you, and the other one that wants to hurt you, and then the other one that's probably manipulating everything. So it's like he's not in control of anything. The only thing he wants to do is not be a part of it. And I kind of feel like he had the viewpoint of some of like the audience. It's like, what do we do here? Like, what is the right thing for me to do? Do I pay for what I've done? Do I just lay low? What am I supposed to do? And I thought it was really cool, man, because I didn't think Sebastian Stan was gonna have. I thought he was just like, all right, he's just gonna be the guy that keeps running. And technically he was that, but he ended up bringing something more to it. What about you guys? What's your favorite part?
Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Spider-Man.
For me, overall in general, like I love the fact that you got the Black. You know all the characters in this movie except for Black Panther and Spider-Man. There are no real origin stories for Spider-Man or Black Panther. They just get right into it. Probably my favorite is, I want to say Black Panther just because I've been waiting for him to show up. I thought he was done perfectly. I'm a big Chadwick Boseman fan. I've been on Team Chadwick ever since he did a guest appearance in an episode of Justified. He was really good as Jackie Robinson, has that kind of reserved demeanor. And seeing him as... My stutter is going to fuck this one up. T'Challa.
There it is.
Yeah. There we go.
Nice.
I loved all that stuff. I loved everything with Wakanda. Like, I'm so happy. Like, they brought him in. He wasn't a caricature. He wasn't ridiculous. He was just himself. And I love the Black Panther so much, but I can't say it's my favorite.
Yeah.
My favorite is Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Spider-Man was great.
And I'm even a defender of Tobey Maguire.
Well, the movies were good.
Because I know a lot of people that are in love with Spider-Man comics feel that Tobey Maguire was just a horrible choice for Spider-Man because he's not, he's nothing like the character in the comics. But Spider-Man 2 is still one of my favorite comic book movies ever made.
The age thing bothered people a lot too.
The age thing, it was just like it didn't quite work of like in terms of what Spider-Man is, but the movie that they made worked. And Doc Ock worked and all that stuff worked. I really liked Andrew Garfield. Like he actually started to get a little bit more of how Spider-Man is. Of like he wasn't in the best of movies, but he was starting to get like he was starting to get it figured out. Tom Holland as Spider-Man steals the show. He's not in the whole movie. He's in more of the movie than I thought he was going to be. I even looked it up. Like they started like pre-production on this movie, May of last year, I think, and he wasn't announced as Spider-Man until like June of last year. I don't know how they fit so much of Spider-Man into this movie. Like they had to have written all this stuff and then kind of really hope that Sony agreed to it. Like they made it work. He's the closest thing to Spider-Man that I've ever seen. Like it's almost like I'm watching like the cartoon from the 90s.
And the credit, and I'll say
it's
this,
just
like
so amazing.
As great as Tom Holland was, the real credit, 100, I think, in my opinion, all 100% of my credit goes to the Marvel people.
Yeah.
Because the one thing that people were, like you said, like we never really got. Not that we maybe it's like we need the true 100% representation, but this is the closest we've ever gotten to the Spider-Man that's been on the page.
Yeah.
And it was fun. He was funny. He was badass.
He was fresh. Like he was talking. Like he wouldn't shut up. Like just kind of back and forth. He was a little kid. he was a teenager.
Yeah.
There's a moment in the movie where Tony Stark wants him to come and help them.
Yeah.
It's not like much of a spoiler. And his response is, "I don't know. I have homework to do."
Yeah.
Like,
That's Spider-Man.
and that's what sets him apart from everything else. And it was a breath of fresh air when he came onto he came into the movie. I was just in love with it, and just him going around with everyone else. In the scene that we'll talk about later, that was what just made me feel like a kid.
Yeah, dude.
It's something that only a few movies in my life have ever hit me that way.
Yeah.
Civil War is one of them.
Okay. Were there anything that you guys like maybe didn't like? I know it's a
Mine is
legitimate
spoiler area,
Okay,
so I don't know if you want to
so we'll go into that in a second.
Okay.
Taking, the only thing I can really think of, and this is even like in my second viewing, of little small quibbles here and there. Like,
Yeah.
there's a moment that involves like a little intimacy that felt kind of rushed to me.
Yes, I agree with that. But they had also provided one of the funniest moments.
Yes,
in
it
the
was.
movie.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
But even that's something like, yeah, that was a little rushed. But even if it was rushed, it still worked. It still clicked. It's something that's so small that I didn't even care. Like, there are parts of this movie that feel a little strange. Even some of the plot that happens toward the end of the movie, it's a little bit kind of movie plot more than something realistic.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care. Like, it all worked. Like, it's still close enough to making sense that you shrug it off because you're just having too much fun.
Yeah.
This is hands down my favorite movie in the Marvel Universe. Like, after seeing it a second time, I think I can lock it in. The only thing that comes close for me is probably the first Avengers and the first Iron Man, just because it captured this, it captured the sense of wonder and everything.
That's a great way to put it.
And so much fun, but it was also serious.
Marvel?
Yeah.
Come on, that was good.
Go check the camera again. Go check the camera.
I know. I was gonna say no. Like the one thing that I was gonna say was that
How dare you?
that it was for Marvel.
I do the puns around here.
Yeah.
I nailed it.
Okay.
You're punned. Okay. You're punned. Okay. The one thing I was gonna say is Marvel had an interesting task here, because the one thing that I was complaining about after Age of Ultron and even with Ant-Man, I was like, they're getting to the point where like they're becoming kind of predictable with their storylines. So it's like, what do you do with a group of superheroes, such as an Avengers movie that you haven't done before? And the one thing that they didn't do was like make an intimate story about how they interact with each other outside of their costume, so to speak. And in this movie, we finally got that. It didn't like we were saying like, yeah, we like when you see the plot, you're like, yeah, we get it, but that not necessarily what was important here. Because even the ending, you're like, when you get to the ending, we're not gonna spoil the ending, but it's just like when you get to the ending, you're like, interesting, all right, but the core issue is everybody's still gonna think the way they're gonna think, and I'm like, I want to see those scenes where they interact and say, hey, this is my side, not like where they just meet up with each other and be like, oh, Martha, what up? You know what I mean?
What did you say?
What did you say?
Did we just become as friends? No, but I say it was definitely. It felt like the most intimate Marvel movie that they've made. Yet also, it was one of the bigger scale movies they've ever made.
Yeah.
And it's like the one thing that I was really looking forward here to was like, all right, let's see if the Russo brothers can do it again after they did Winter Soldier. And the one thing that it showed me was in action movies, they kind of have like, you know, the saying is like, oh, they never took their foot off the gas. I think to being a good director, you have to know how to drive the car. And these guys know how to drive the superhero car so freaking well.
I think, I'm sure there'll be some people out there that say, these people were hired because they're TV directors. They know they know how to follow Marvel's orders and just to make a big cast work because they came from Arrested Development, they came from Community.
Yeah, but like,
The funny part is
think about that. Like, these guys that made such a badass movie. What did they direct?
Community and Arrested Development and You, Me, and Dupree.
Think about that for a second. The guys who did Community just put together probably the best 2 comic book movies
Do you know
in the
why?
last 20 years.
Because they picked up a comic book in Reddit.
Yeah, it's well. What I was going to say was like a lot of people might try to discredit them as just they're just kind of robots there to follow Marvel's orders, and I think like if you think that, like you're just kind of missing the point of, these guys come from TV, and it's not just being able to juggle a cast. TV is about, if nothing, it's about characters.
Yeah.
I think that's why Marvel goes after TV directors, not just because maybe less of an artistic vision of being able to juggle a cast. It's because in TV you have to worry about characters and emotions on a weekly basis. Like you have to make like the characters work. And in this movie, it's about emotions. Like, yeah, there's lots of set pieces, there's lots of things going on, but it's about character. And you could tell that the directors, like, I could feel that they understood the emotions of everyone they had on screen. They understood the characters. Like, they knew how to put them together. Like, nothing felt wrong. It all felt right. Like, they got it.
Like, they knew the story they were going to tell, and they weren't going to try to do something, like, ridiculous. Say, hey, let's add this in here. Maybe they'll add... And it's like, no. There was the story they were going to tell. Because when you look at from an execution standpoint, Winter Soldier and this movie are pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
They're very straightforward movies. And the way they execute it shows how disciplined they are. Not so much like, and I know we spoke off camera about this, where it's like, yeah, you could be disciplined where it's like, all right, holding stuff back. But no, it's also discipline saying, this is how it needs to be told. And we have to do everything we can to do it like that. And they know how to do it like that. And it's awesome, man. Like, it's, I'm glad these guys are doing Infinity War because...
Confidence is there.
Yeah, I liked it. Like, we saw, the one thing I was curious to see is, like, how are they going to handle, like, the supernatural of members of the Avengers?
Right.
And they nailed it greatly.
I think in this movie, Scarlet Witch, who I wasn't a giant fan of in Ultron, and I'm still not a giant fan of Elizabeth Olsen's accent, but Scarlet Witch has a good chunk of time in this movie, a good chunk of screen time, and I think she nailed it.
She nailed it.
And I think they really figured it out. Like, these two guys, they understand the characters that they're dealing with, and I feel like that's more important, like, than getting a shot or having it look a certain way or a certain kind of frame. The first job of a director is to get a performance and to have the performance be the right performance.
Yeah.
And I think in every scene of this movie they did that.
Yeah. I definitely, it's, I know you guys mentioned it before, but, like, before we kind of go into, like, the more specifics of the movie, if we do, like, where would you initially rank it in your... I know you said it was probably above your Iron Man. Yeah. Where would you rank it in overall on Marvel movies?
That's hard. I could do this year.
Huh?
I can do it out of this year.
No, I meant like just initially.
This year, no,
like,
out of movies in general this year.
No. I meant
Deadpool.
I meant like Marvel movies.
Oh, yeah. So, I guess it's around the Winter Soldier for me.
So Winter Soldier would be number one.
I don't know if I'd put Winter Soldier at 1 though. It's like I haven't really like.
What's your number 1?
Broken down that of Marvel movies. I love Guardians of the Galaxy.
Well, you could just say roughly.
So
I would be in my top 3.
Like,
he doesn't like to be in a box. He don't box him in,
I'd say like it's probably in my top 3, especially with Guardians of the Galaxy, because that movie, I love it. I don't know why I love it so much. I just love it. Yeah. Like anyone can watch it and like it. It's just fun and funny.
Yeah. For me, if I were to rank the Marvel movies, like I would say it's definitely in the top 3. Iron Man 3 is a guilty pleasure. A lot of people are kind of up in arms of it, but the reason I liked that movie so much was because it felt like a standalone film. I think this movie, one of the bigger reasons I like it is because it's a standalone film. You can watch it and say, wow, that was a great superhero movie, period. Yeah. It doesn't necessarily have to say, oh, well, I don't understand, where do they come from? Yeah, there's certain characters that maybe if you don't know the Marvel Universe, you'll never know where they came from or anything, but that's not important. Yeah. So I'm with you, I'll put it top 3. Yeah. Maybe number 1 after the second movie.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's number 1 for me. The only thing that might fight it out for number 1 is probably the first Avengers, just because I had such a blast watching that first Avengers. Either that or the first Iron Man. Like, the first Iron Man gets forgotten these days. Yeah. But the OG Iron Man.
2008, man.
without that movie, we don't have any of this.
See, for me, Deadpool jumps up there a lot, but I'm just a huge Deadpool fan. So
Well, for Marvel's
that pushes stuff
MCU,
around.
for like
That's
this
part-
year.
Well, I guess that's part of Marvel.
No, but it's not Marvel's.
part of
you know,
the-
Marvel's
Marvel
can be.
Cinematic
No, it won't be.
It can be.
It won't be.
It's not going to happen.
I have faith it's going to be.
Fox is run by evil people.
Fox hates Marvel.
Sorry, Fox. If you want to sponsor this podcast, I will say you're very nice.
Yeah, we would only
organization.
review X-Men movies if you make X-Men movies.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But is there anything else that you guys wanted to chat about this bad boy?
I think that's it. We can go into spoilers really quick.
All right, yeah. All right, here we go. We're gonna go in spoilers. My favorite part of the movie is in 3, 2.
Well, also, if you haven't seen the movie, like, and you're this far into the review, of like, just
Yeah.
don't like.
I'm assuming this is Monday when we post this, so it's like if you haven't seen the movie, go get your ass
Yeah.
out there and watch the movie.
Stop, go
Probably
watch
read
it.
reviews by now too.
Yeah. So
Um,
I want to say
yeah,
my
go.
favorite spoiler moment.
There you go.
So my favorite spoiler moment is Ant-Man becoming giant.
Giant Man.
Giant
Oh,
man, dude.
I literally said when that happened, it came on screen. I said out loud, "Holy shit!" And then Spider-Man goes and says, "Holy shit!" I'm like, "Yeah, Spider-Man,
No
I
one-
agree with you."
In my opinion, like that stole the movie because
Like,
no
that
one
was so
saw that coming. Nobody saw that coming.
You know what's really sad? Apparently, for some people, like I guess there's a toy line that already had Giant Man out as a toy.
Really?
Of like, but I don't know if it was already in stores yet. And I guess some people had saw it and that spoiled it for them.
Yeah.
But that is a thing. Like,
Yeah, but I guess like it was.
Yeah, but no one was making
It was
Ant-Man
made.
toys.
knew it was gonna
I think
happen.
it was made to look like the Iron Man suit,
Right,
like in the
right, I
movies
see,
and
yeah,
stuff
yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
So that's not cool. Whatever toy company you are,
Yeah.
but Giant Man
Giant Man was my favorite moment of
was
this movie.
so amazing. I love that whole airplane, the airport sequence in general, where it's literally every single character in the movie charging at each other, having their own little mini fight.
And how long was it? It was like 15, 20
Yeah, like
minutes.
Probably a good 15-minute like action
Yeah.
sequence. That's what I was talking about earlier when I said like it made me feel like a 10-year-old kid. Like just, and even watching that again for a second time, I just still felt like this rush of like, this was me in my bedroom playing with action figures, pretending stuff, writing things of like, wouldn't it be cool like if Spider-Man could fight off against these guys? And he does. Like, and that's where Spider-Man steals the show. Like he's so great the way they use him, the choreography and like the things that they think of. Like it's not just punch, punch, punch. Every time they cut to like someone fighting, it's always something inventive, something different. With Captain America's shield, something different with the webbing. I loved it. And it was just to bottle that scene, hand it to every young director. Like if you want to make an action movie with more than 2 people in it, like like an action scene with more than 2 people in, like this is how you do it. Like and the editing on that, like whoever's the editor, like I know the editors on this movie like will never win awards because it's not an Academy Award winning production of like, but terrific editing in this movie, and the editing of that scene had to have been so hard because imagine how much film they shot for that, and to put that together, and have it click near flawlessly is just tip of my cap. I loved it.
Yeah, I'm interested in seeing because like the second unit directors for this movie were the John Wick directors.
Yeah.
So and you kind of saw their stamp in this movie because there was a ton of hand-to-hand combat in this movie, a ton. So I'm interested in seeing like maybe when the DVD comes out, saying, hey, what role did they play, and maybe kind of like choreographing the scenes.
Yeah.
They probably brought all their whole crew with them that did John Wick.
I mean, like I have to assume the final battle, which also the balls of having in the second act you have like this massive battle, which is probably like the coolest comic book battle like ever put on screen, pretty much. And then you end the movie with just like an intimate like 3-person fight in a dark room around snow, and it works. Because of the emotions of that scene are running through as you're thinking like, oh, is Iron Man actually gonna like accidentally kill Cap? Is Cap gonna freak out and kill Iron Man and save his friend? Like, of course it's not gonna happen. This is a franchise. But as I'm watching it, like I got lost into that emotion, and I'm like, is someone gonna die in this movie right now? And I legitimately thought that someone might die.
Yeah. And that was your complaint.
Yeah.
I wanted it.
I know you wanted. I know you wanted someone to go.
I didn't.
I don't like. I like how it went. How everything ended up. I liked it. But if Marvel had even bigger set on them and they did it,
You can bring them back.
Like I really
for
thought
the
they were going to
movies.
kill Cap. I thought they were going to kill Cap in this
That's-
movie.
Like I wanted it. Like if
I would have
what's
cried.
when they
shot what's his name out of the sky and he hit the ground. I didn't think he was dead.
War Machine?
Yeah, I don't know why I can't think of his name. Well, so I didn't think he was dead. And honestly, from the buildup of what they gave him in the movie, I don't think it would have paid it off if they killed him. So it would have been like you wouldn't have had that connection. It would have been like
It's
Yeah.
like you feel bad, but you're like
I'm totally with you. Like the worst thing that happens to anyone is that someone gets slightly wounded. And that is like a little bitty gripe,
right.
but I feel like it all works.
It does.
Because all the characters kind of go through a bit of suffering. The one more spoiler thing that I want to bring up is a lot of the problems with these Marvel movies, as of late, is they never have strong villains. I thought Winter Soldier worked well because you had both Winter Soldier, who was very interesting, and you had Robert Redford playing a villain. Spoiler alert for Winter Soldier if you haven't seen that. I mean, but I feel like if you're already in spoilers of Civil War, you've seen that.
Yeah.
Because you had like this really great actor playing that, and so it worked. I mean, but besides Loki, a lot of the villains aren't really memorable.
that's why Ultron. A lot of people didn't like it, is because he was like a
He was what?
one-off. He was like almost like a TV villain, where it's like one episode, get the hell out of the way.
Like a Monster of the Week episode.
Yeah.
Of like, but the villain in this movie is literally just a guy. You know what? He worked so much better for me as a villain, like than some of the other ones, like in Thor and stuff like that.
Yeah. What I know we talked about it after the movie was, I think it was this movie. What makes this movie very special for Marvel was that even though there's a guy who incites the conflict, he's not really a villain. It's like everybody has a justifiable reason to want to get at each other. And Baron Zemo in this movie, spoiler, is his family died in the Sokovia attack, with Ultron. And every time he's like in the movie, there's random times where he plays. Well, you don't know it's a voicemail of his wife that died, but
you assume someone's calling.
Yeah, you think someone's calling him. So like he plays this voicemail back to kind of remind himself like this is why I'm doing this. He knows these heroes are heroes, but he's like, you guys, because of what you guys done, my family died, and I want revenge. And you know what? You're like, and at the end of the movie when he's there with Black Panther, you're just like, I feel for this guy. I'm so sorry.
Totally, like when he goes to kill himself because he feels that he's completed his mission. I understand it. Like I totally do. Like of course he's an evil person for having them go through all that. But I totally get it. It totally makes sense. All of his motivations make sense. And the geniusness of you have a movie that's crammed full of superheroes, and just this special ops normal guy with no powers whatsoever is able to outsmart all of them. The one gripey thing that I did mention earlier is his plan is a little funky towards the end. Towards the end, but convenient. I forgive it. Yeah, it's kind of convenient. I'm assuming that he had the hotel notice that the dead body was there to try to get Iron Man's attention, to try to get him there. Maybe it's a bit of a stretch, but it's something that I forgive, and I think it works. I love the twist at the end of because the whole movie you think he's going there to create this super race of
super soldiers.
Super soldiers, and the whole time I'm like, this is coming out of nowhere. Like, I'm sure they were a project that were canceled or something, but why are these super soldiers kind of appearing in Civil War now? Like, why wouldn't have they ever been used before?
Like, how are they still alive?
Yeah,
Never explained a lot of that.
And it felt kind of weird to me, but I'm like, okay, I'm going for it. And the twist where he ends up killing him because he wants him dead. I'm like, that works so much better for me. Like, that makes so much sense.
Yeah. I dug it. Like, the one thing that the Russo brothers do very well is that even though, like you said earlier, that there's a lot of shit going on, it's very specific in what the point of everything's gonna be.
Yeah.
Like in Winter Soldier, even though like you're fighting all of Hydra, Captain America's trying to get back inside to say, hey, look what's going on here.
Yeah.
In this movie, what was so great was like, yeah, you have all the potential of the super soldier stuff. The fact that he killed all of them, saying, no, like I'm not interested in taking over the world. I'm interested in you guys tearing each other apart. And I don't care if anybody else sees it. I just want you guys all dead.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's awesome. Like it wasn't like Age of Ultron where it's just like, oh my God, everybody's out and about and everybody's gonna die. It's like, no, that's not the point of everything that he did was so clear, so specific, and very contained.
He didn't even stay to watch it. He left.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, I don't give a fuck. I've done what I wanted to do. You guys want to kill each other. Peace.
And at the end of the movie, like he still feels like, I'm pretty sure I still won in the end. Like it's even though they didn't kill each other.
Yeah.
Because there is this riff. Like the movie ends on a bit of a high note of like, I will always be here for you if you need me. But there is this riff. Like there is a scar that will never heal. Even if there. Even if like you can still get away and still live with the scar on you, that scar is going to be there, and that's kind of what this movie is.
Exactly. But that's all I have to say about it. It's an awesome movie. Go see it if you have not.
It's one more question.
Yeah.
Has Martin Freeman signed on for a bunch of other movies? Like,
That's a good point.
what was Martin Freeman doing in this movie?
Yeah.
Could you hire someone like Martin Freeman, who's becoming a bit of like a name actor, like thanks to Hobbit and Sherlock and everything?
Yeah.
And he's in it for like 2 scenes and really has nothing to do in the movie whatsoever. You could have given that part to some no-name person. So I feel like he's got to have a play.
Yeah, it's just it's
later
kinda,
on. Like, do you
Same
recognize like the character name at all?
Yeah.
Like,
same with Baron
nothing?
Zemo. It's like interesting. Like you have a guy who's a real name actor, and the character Baron Zemo technically is a name villain, but it's like the way they set up the movie is like maybe there's really nothing they're gonna do beyond this movie, which is I'm fine with. I'm like for like us fans, it's like hey, we always like to see our favorite like nerd actors kind of.
Maybe that's why they're putting them in too. They've done that before. It's just put in random people like to give them a shout out, like hey.
And like eventually it'll pay off. I mean, like in this movie, we dusted off William Hurt from the Incredible Hulk. You don't have to see the Incredible Hulk; it's fine.
Hey, it's not bad.
But he played, of course, the Colonel from
Thunderbolt Ross.
Yeah. And he hadn't been in any of the Marvel movies, and now he pops up and he's a major figure in this movie.
Yeah.
So who knows? Maybe they got something figured out that we don't know.
I'm looking forward to it, man. Like this movie, the one thing it doesn't tease to what's coming at all. Like the post-credit scene themselves are pretty just the 2 characters that you know are going to be in the future, but it's not necessarily introducing the storyline. It is
confirming.
But yeah.
Yeah, Black Panther, to get a shot of Wakanda. Who's excited for that?
Yeah.
For those of you that left after the Black Panther thing, there's a Spider-Man credit sequence at the end.
It's probably on YouTube already.
It probably isn't. It's literally just him sitting in his bed, probably messing with something that Tony Stark gave him, something called the Spider Signal that I'm not that familiar with.
Neither am I.
But I guess it's a thing.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't care. This movie, if nothing else, has made me already pre-buy my tickets for Black Panther, which I have to wait like a year and a half, 2 years for that Black
a year
Panther
and a half
movie.
now. Yeah.
But next year, Spider-Man: Homecoming. I'm in.
Dude, it's gonna be fun. Like I think everything that they're doing right now is gonna be awesome. Looking forward to the next. What's the next? For them, it's Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange, and then it goes into Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 next year, and then we get it rolling.
Maybe some Ragnarok.
That's been our review, Captain America: Civil War. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave it right on the YouTube, or you can email us at.
I guess I have to put it in there.
Well, I mean, you don't have to. Go check the camera.
Already.
Exitonlytheater@gmail.com. Exitonlytheater@gmail.com, or you can.
You can call me on my cell phone at.
Don't. Or you can contact us on Twitter as well. We can get back to you. Whichever way you really want to.
Back door, front door, don't matter.
It does matter.
It really does matter. But we would prefer.
Some may not.
we would prefer like a YouTube comment or an email or even like a Twitter like to reply. You can even slide into our DMs like, whoa.
Yeah, just swipe right on.
No.
Slide it in.
I'm sorry.
Swipe right on
I'm
Tinder.
sorry.
Like our podcast.
Wait, could that be our sign-off line?
What?
No.
Swipe.
That has nothing to do with movies. You're fired. Get your ass behind the camera.
Check the camera.
Yeah.
So bad.
All right, I'm Adrian Alderette.
I'm Michael Kingery.
Sean Howard.
We will see you when the credits roll, people.
I said, this is where like we're talking, like, you know, in a news
we go,
segment.
we go,
It's
we
like,
go.
oh.